Aicha, describe the problem of hair discrimination in Germany.
So, hair discrimination in Germany, there's like different parts that kind of add to it, I'd say. For example, you, for the most part at least, can't find any hair products in a normal drugstore. So you can't just like be like, oh, I've run out of leave-in conditioner. Let me just go to the drugstore real quick. You have to go to special stores or order stuff online. And then also it's really hard to find hairstylists that know how to deal with natural hair or just with black hair in general. It's been getting better, but when I grew up, there weren't any. So my mom had to comb my hair. And I mean, now there's more curly hair specialists, but with normal hairstylists, for the most part, you can't really go to them either because they won't know how to take care of your hair or how to even do it. And then also a big part is obviously just people treating you differently. People touching your hair and asking weird questions or making weird comments on it or just rude comments. And there's also just a lot of stigma around black hair, like that it's dirty and that we don't take care of it, that, for example, because we don't wash it as often, it's gross or whatever. So that is just something you notice in the way, people speak about it. Those are things I hear a lot. And it can affect people, including me, really negatively. Like, when I grew up, I used to hate my hair, and it took me so long to get to a point where I was okay with it. And that shouldn't be, it shouldn't be that way, because if you're white or if you just don't have black hair, that's not something you have to deal with. I mean, you might not like your hair and you might even hate it, but not because of the fact that, it's black hair. It's not, what society sees like fit, I guess.
What does your hairstyle mean to you?
For my hairstyle, I change it up all the time. So like now it's straightened, which I try not to do as often because I mean, obviously it's not that healthy, but I change it up so much. Like normally I have curls, just like a really big afro, and then I also wear a lot of protective styles, box braids, twists, whatever I want to try out. And obviously it's just a way of expressing myself and just like showing the way I feel at that moment. And then also it was a way to learn how to, or it helped me with learning how to accept my hair and how to be okay with it. Because the more that I learned about it and the more stuff I tried, the easier it was to accept it and to see the beauty in it and the versatility, like all the different things I can do. It's so cool. And I'm so glad that I have this hair, but like it took me a while, and I guess taking care of my hair has just really helped that process.
How long has hair discrimination been a part of your life?
Hair discrimination has been something that always has been part of my life. Maybe when I was a little kid, I didn't notice it as much, but the older it got, the more obvious it got, and the more it would bother me.
How do you help others against hair discrimination?
And the way I try to help people is just, give them tips, tell them what worked for me, but you always got to consider that natural hair is just so different for every person. Everyone has a different hair type, and like not just because something works for me doesn't mean it works for anyone else. But I just try to help people, like with my sister. I try to help her find products, for example, or do her hair, and that's just how I try to help people. And just tell people that their hair is beautiful and that there's so much they can do, and that once they see that, it's just like a completely different experience. So that's how I try to help, because I feel like if I had someone like that when I was younger, that would have also helped. But I just grew up with a lot of white people around me, and them telling me that my hair wasn't like them telling me that my hair was like unruly and dirty. So that also influenced how I perceived my hair and my appearance.
What does white privilege mean to you, and how do you deal with it?
So, white privilege. What white privilege means to me is basically the lack of discrimination based on your skin color. So it's not really like having something, it's more like not having something, which in that case is that discrimination. And I mean, it really affects every single part of everything. So, I mean, the whole hair discrimination thing, the whole not finding products, that's a part of it, because white is the standard in our society. So, you know, that's what most parts of society do cater to, and everything else is just like seen as different, you know. And but also obviously like getting attacked by people, whether that be verbally or actually physically, it's just, there's so many things, or like little remarks, and it affects every part of my life, and it will affect every part of my life for as long as I live.
And what bothers you the most about this type of discrimination?
And what bothers me the most about it is people trying to deny it, and not seeing that it is a thing, but rather, you know, because it doesn't affect them, they'll just be like, no, it doesn't exist. And that's something that I like have to face almost every day, and it's so exhausting to talk to these people and to like, because they'll try to discuss your lived experiences, and it just makes me really angry, because that's not their place. They don't have that right, you know. And I don't want to discuss whether white privilege is real or not, because it is. And so it's just really exhausting, especially if you have to do it over and over again, especially when I was in school, because I went to school with a lot of white kids, and they just really believed that racism wasn't a thing in Germany. And then obviously they didn't believe that white privilege was a thing, and I just had to explain it over and over again. And I mean, some people did get it, and they did change the way they acted, and like improved stuff, but other people just did not care, and they would be so offended every time I try to bring it up in any way.
So how do you deal with the racism that you face?
And the way I dealt with that, or deal with it, is just to allow myself to like feel whatever I feel in that moment, and to know that that is okay. Because like if I'm angry, then I'm allowed to be angry, and I'm allowed to express that. Or if I'm hurt, or if I'm, I don't know, you know, if I'm pissed off, whatever, I'm allowed to feel all these things and to communicate them. And there's not like a right way to react to these things, and I don't have to always be okay with that, because that's what, growing up, I was told that I had to be okay with it, and that I had to, you know, be quiet, not say anything. But I kind of realized or learned that it's not my job to make other people comfortable, especially when it comes to that stuff. It's not my job to make them feel better about the things they did or said. And all I can do is like express my feelings and the way I think about that. And the way they react is not my responsibility anymore. And it has nothing to do with me, but everything to do with them. And it just tells me the kind of person they are. So that's, I guess, the way I deal with it. I mean, there's also things like making music or making art that help me when I'm really stressed about it. But it just kind of depends on the situation and the day and the mood I'm in. But mostly just like, you know, accepting my feelings and just not judging myself for feeling those things. And also setting boundaries. Because it's like racism and white privilege, that's a topic that I do, like, I'm really passionate about, so I talk about it a lot. But that doesn't mean that I always want to talk about it, and I don't have to, you know, and I don't always have to explain stuff to people. I can just, there's Google, you know, you can just look things up. So for me, it was really important to learn to just set those boundaries, and if I just don't want to, and I don't have to give them an explanation, and I don't want to, and I can just say that. And especially when it comes to discussions, there are certain things that I just will not discuss anymore. I will not discuss whether, you know, my lived experience are valid or not, especially not with someone that has never experienced and never will experience like any type of racial discrimination. I just will not discuss that, but it took me a while to get to that point. It's not really anyone's place to judge other people for the way they deal with that, because that is something that I hear a lot. Like, if they would have said it nicer, if you would have said it nicer, then maybe they would listen. But no, just deal with it however you want and express yourself and your feelings however you want to.
What could society do better in regards to hair discrimination?
I mean, obviously include black hair into like just normal life, like sell the products at normal drugstores and make natural hair a part of like the curriculum for hairstylists, so they have to learn it. But also just, sometimes like just don't touch people's hair. And don't even ask them, because you wouldn't ask a white person that, or just a non-black person. You wouldn't ask them that either. So why do you ask me? I mean, if you have genuine questions, you can always ask. Doesn't mean that the person has to answer them, but you can always ask. But if it's stuff like, oh, natural hair, black hair is so dirty, it's so disgusting, I don't even know why you would like say that. Even if you think it, just go look it up. It's one Google search or one YouTube video and you will see that that's totally not the case. Educate yourself instead of just saying stuff without having any knowledge and any information, because that can like actually hurt people, and it might not be a big deal to you and you'll forget it right after saying it, but that's not the case for the people that you've said that to a lot of the time. So just being more understanding, being more educated. Same thing when it just comes to white privilege in general. Like, educate yourself. That'll make a huge difference, because then a lot of things that you might do now, you won't do them anymore once you know and understand what they do to the people you say them or do them to.